Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we have an exciting story to tell about an airline that once soared high but unfortunately faced a tragic demise. Buckle up and let us explore the story of Transaero, a Russian private airline which was the first at many of achievements.
Transaero, Transaero. Transaero, Transaero.
Жизнь бежит с минутой, каждый все быстрей. Мы спешим успеть, стараемся за ней. Нам Transaero уверенность дает, если вместе мы...
Transaero's story begins in the early 1990s, when Alexander Pleshakov and Grigory Gurtovoy started it as a charter airline, leasing aircraft from Aeroflot. Incorporated as a joint stock company, Transaero became the very first airline to be approved for scheduled passenger services in the Soviet Union. Their very first flight took off from Moscow to Tel Aviv on November 5, 1991. In the years that followed, Transaero expanded its fleet and route network. In July 1992, they received their very first aircraft, an Aviation IL-86, making them the very first privately owned Russian airline to commence regularly scheduled passenger flights. Their very first flight departed Vnukovo Airport in Moscow to Norilsk Airport in Russia. 4 more destinations followed: Sochi, Kiev, and Almaty, as well as the very first internationally regularly scheduled passenger flight out of the Soviet Union, Moscow to Tel Aviv. By April 1993, Transaero introduced Western-built aircraft such as the 737-200, followed by a 757-200 in April 1994. Always pushing boundaries, in 1995 Transaero became the very first Russian airline to have a frequent flyer program. And so the years went by. Transaero continued to make waves in the aviation industry. For example, in 1998, they commenced a weekly service to London Gatwick, opening up new possibilities for travelers. Their fleet grew to include aircraft like the 737-700, 767-200, and 737-300. They even signed on an agreement to buy 10 Tupolev Tu-214-300 aircrafts. Then in 2005, Transaero became the very first Russian airline to operate the Boeing 747. They operated regularly scheduled passenger flights from Moscow to Tel Aviv, and they would also do summer charter flights to popular holiday destinations. Transaero's wings took them way beyond Russia. In May 2005, they entered the Canadian markets with flights to Montreal. The following year, they would do flights to Toronto. The late 2000s and early 2010s witnessed further growth for Transaero. They arranged to lease 747-400s and 777-300s, expanding their long-haul capabilities. The airline also placed orders for Boeing 747-8s and even the Airbus A380, which obviously never went through. They aimed to introduce these impressive aircraft with the new Sukhoi Superjet 100. In April 2012, Transaero resumed flights to Los Angeles from Moscow, connecting 2 vibrant cities. They also began direct flights from Moscow to Miami, further solidifying their presence in the United States. Things were looking promising for Transaero as they further continued to innovate and expand. However, every story has its challenges, and Transaero faced financial difficulties in 2013. They carried nearly 12.5 million passengers that year, but accumulated significant debt. Despite hosting a competition for a new livery and a new logo, the airline struggled to overcome its financial burdens. In September 2015, Transaero's fate took a dramatic turn. Aeroflot, Russia's flag carrier, agreed to purchase 75% of Transaero for the symbolic price of 1 ruble.
Aeroflot is buying a 75% stake in ailing private airline Transaero for 1 ruble. The Russian national...
It seemed like a lifeline for Transaero, but by October the deal fell through and the airline faced imminent bankruptcy. With debts reaching billions of euros, ticket sales were halted and flights were gradually delayed or suspended. The airline's air operating certificate was eventually revoked, signifying an end of an era.
The operating certificate of the Russian airline Transaero will be canceled from October 26th, after the audit which was made.
Sadly, on October 25th, 2015, the last Transaero flight would land in Moscow-Vnukovo. Transaero Flight 160, a 767-200ER operating from eastern Russia, the city of Magadan, landed in Vnukovo Airport at 11:54 a.m. local time. That truly marked an end of an era. A once prominent airline, the second biggest airline in Russia, the first privately owned airline in Russia, and many, many more achievements to be achieved by this very big airline. But many still wonder how this iconic airline could meet its demise. And that concludes our story through Transaero, the rise and demise of it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Transaero, Transaero. Transaero, Transaero.
Leasing airlines to commence public. Then in 2000, they even signed on an